Some people will think the CJI 2 European trials were super fun and they loved every second of the chaotic action that took place. Some will feel that it was too wild, it crossed the line, there were too many shenanigans, and that the event was too amateur for having some of the best grapplers in Europe competing against each other to earn the right for a place on the European team that will head to Las Vegas for the most prestigious event in grappling in 2025, the Craig Jones Invitational 2. So let's discuss the CJI 2 European trials. We'll get on to the team as it stands heading to Vegas in a little bit. First, let me set the scene and give you my thoughts on the event as a whole. I'm Ross. This is the Jiu Jitsu Oracle. We're recording this just a couple of hours after the conclusion of the Faradinho Invitational, the CJI 2 European trials at the Los Banditos Club in London, as Craig Jones himself noted on the comments on the last edition of the Jiu Jitsu Oracle. Man moves quick. Yeah, and I'm moving quick again to get this video out. So, when you hear me raise any points, if you agree or disagree, please fire into the comment section and let me know. I think this event will be incredibly polarizing. What a surprise. A polarizing topic in 2025. But I think some people will love it and some people will not have loved it. So, the event, the Faradinho Invitational, named after Faris Ben Lamkadem, who is heading up coaching the European team, took place at the Los Banditos Club in London. And the gym itself is no doubt like a decent sized gym for holding classes, etc., but not the most amount of space for holding matches with fans being in the building as well. So it's quite a tight space for the matches. You know what grappling matches are like. They can go all over the place, even if you have quite a big mat space, which is why come CJI 2 in August, the pit wall will be most welcome because it will keep people on the mat space when they're grappling. But at this event, quite a tight mat space for matches, and then people round the side of the match, and the grapplers spilled off the edge quite a lot. And not only did they spill off the edge, but they were allowed to keep going. And not only did they keep going on like what looked to be some tarpaulin covering some mats, then it was hardwood floor. Then they got as far as like a sofa on the edge of the room. And all the while, like, guys are still competing as the action is chaotically spilled away from the mat space. And for my liking, when you have professional grapplers competing for a place on a team at a prestigious event, I think that scene is just too amateurish for where grappling is now. I get, like, back in the day in Scotland, we saw, I mean, I've seen some crazy scraps in jiu-jitsu and MMA, and it was fun, etc. But, like, the scene moves on, the sport moves on, and there comes a time, like I say, when EDCC trials happen, like, guys scrapping on carpets, it's just, like, it's too amateur for where the sport is and wants to be going. Also, like, way too much risk of injury. Like, I don't know if any of the athletes were paid to compete at these trials, or whether they were paying their own way for the hope of getting onto the European team, and then the teams are all ultimately battling out for a $1 million prize that they can split 5 ways, should they wish. But yeah, if guys are like risking injuries, spilling off mats, not only that, but there's like drink being consumed, which, like, on the one hand, I'm fine with drinking at sporting events, even though you can't do it at football matches in Scotland. But yeah, I've consumed drink at other sporting events. But when, like, drinks getting, like, thrown around, like, sprayed on winning grapplers, etc., then maybe going on to the mats and stuff, it's just creating, like, a hazardous environment. And then there's, like, there's stairs, there's poles, there's sofas. There's like above the sofas, there's coat hooks, and guys are scrapping on the sofa. Like it was just too wild an environment, I think, to have a grappling competition like this with the level of grapplers that were taking part. So I wasn't a big fan of the setting, and I wasn't a big fan of like the lack of control of keeping grapplers in the middle of the mats competing. But you let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, I think if you've just seen some of the highlights going up on social media, you'll think it was a wild event that was well worth watching. I think maybe if you watch the whole event play out, then you might have a different opinion. What I will say on the broadcast of the event, unfortunately, it didn't end up being streamed on YouTube, much like the Giles trials in Australasia were. Rather, it was broadcast on an Instagram live video that was on the CJI official page. Now, I could dip in and out of it. I was watching, there were two big football matches in the UK happening at the same time. The Scottish Cup final, won by Aberdeen against Celtic, and Sunderland winning promotion back to the English Premier League, where they'll face the mighty Newcastle United next season. So I had my eyes on that. My hometown team, Aberdeen, trying to beat Celtic in the Scottish Cup, and then Newcastle's big rivals trying to win promotion back to the Premier League. But enough about that. I had up my phone. I was just casting an eye between the grappling and the football. But yeah, it would have been far better if there had been a professional live production on YouTube. I gather the event has been filmed and will be put up as a documentary at a later date, but I don't think in this day and age, like, we can have sporting events happen and not have live broadcasts of it. Like, pretty much any match I now want to see in any sport that I follow, I can access a live video of it. And I'd have liked to see that happen here. As it was, watching the Instagram live video on my laptop meant I could kind of hide the comments, which made watching it a lot easier. Although it was nice to dip in and out at times and see what the general opinion of the event was. But yeah, no YouTube, Instagram stream that would like cut out after a while, not during a match, but like after a few matches. Then you have to wait for it to come back on. Not the best broadcast of the event. And I think like Lachlan Giles and the Australasia crew did a far better job at showcasing their event. I will be interested in seeing the documentary that's put up later. And yeah, I think like if you're seeing like that, it depends what they put on it, and you're seeing the social media clips, I think you'll maybe think that it was like a wild event that, you know, I must see. But yeah, I think if you sat and watched the Instagram live, maybe you've got a different opinion. Please let me know in the comments. I'll try and reply to as many as possible. And like I said, you never know who pops up in that comment section. Sometimes Craig Jones himself has made an appearance. So, smallest room, crazy action, scraps off the mats. Not the most professional broadcast situation. And then one last thing that I thought was too amateur for my liking, although I don't know the full story as to what happened, but I think it's the most controversial thing that happened at the event. So, in the final of the under 88 kilogram category, we had Taylor Pearman against Paul Ardilla. Now, the match itself was relatively unexciting. They started off with both guys sitting down looking for leg locks. And then ultimately, like, Paul played on top of it, but I think he was quite passive. And I think he was passive enough that after 8 minutes in an event where they said that stalling would be heavily penalised, I think Taylor did enough at that point where you could have given him the decision. Now, I don't know if the athletes were told before the event, if there is a decision in this way, we can go to an overtime. But when it was announced that there would be a 4-minute overtime, certainly Taylor looked surprised. And I think as an athlete, you budget for the time that you're given. So you know if you're going 8 minutes, that you're going to try and pace yourself to get through the 8 minutes, but you know you're not going 4 minutes more, so you don't necessarily have to leave anything in the tank. And I think when it came to overtime, yes, Paul has an edge in wrestling, but also I don't know if Taylor was expecting to have to go through an overtime. Another bizarre thing was the overtime rule were ADCC rules. So why are we using ADCC rules in a CJI event, especially given all the contention last year when it was CJI going up against ADCC and trying to be different? So then Paul won by getting a takedown in overtime. I mean, the odds of Paul winning in overtime when it became evident that it was ADCC rules and you'd get penalised for pulling guard and you had to wrestle and you would score for wrestling, the odds were massively stacked in Paul's favour at that point. So I feel really bad for Taylor. I think he kind of got screwed a little bit. He had to use pro wrestling terminology. It looked like he didn't expect there to be an overtime. It certainly looked like the ADCC rules were massively unfavourable to him. And then Paul Ardillas comes through and got the under 88 kilogram slot in the European team, which is bizarre in itself because Paul is, heading over from the States to compete. I think he's based in Atlanta, Georgia. And, I love the lore of Paul Ardilla. I think he's a practicing lawyer, attorney, whatever the term is over there. And then he often goes to ADCC trials and wins, despite not being a full-time grappler. But that's kind of in ADCC terms, that's kind of his peak, so to say. He doesn't then go on and win the ADCC Worlds, right? And then so every team in CJI, there's 8 teams, just to recap this. 5 teams are going to be representing gyms, 3 teams represent continents. Each can play a wild card. The wild card means you can pick any grappler in the world that's not within your jurisdiction to go on your team. Australasia have picked Fabricio Andre, one of the best under 66 competitors in the world, to be their wild card. B team have picked Victor Hugo, one of the best heavyweights in the world, to be their wild card at plus 99 kilograms, So that's the level of grappler we're looking at. Atos have picked Felipe Pena, another one of the best heavyweights in the world, to be their representative. I don't know if he's going to do under 99 or over 99, but at one of the heavier weights. And now, as good as Paul Ardilla is, I don't think you can say he's absolutely at the elite level of the sport where he's going to be winning world championships, etc. Even although he's king of the US trials. But that's who Europe have selected with their wild card. That's who they've played their wild card on. And he's got that wild card slot despite not really looking like a decisive champion in that division. I think Taylor could have been given the nod for the under 88 position at the end of his match against Paul. And I think it would have made absolute sense to have Taylor, a UK-based grappler, in the European team, a grappler that has made it to the ADCC Worlds, has won European trials before. So why spend a wild card on a grappler who's pretty much at the same level as someone else who you could pick, for the team? It doesn't make any sense to me. I would have even if Europe didn't play their wild card, hold them in reserve just in case you need to call someone in because of injury. That could have been done. But yeah, it was just a strange situation. And that under 88 division is very strange anyway because we don't have Owen O'Flanagan in it. I didn't know if Owen was going to do under 88 or under 99, but I pretty much figured, given his credentials, that he's made it not only to the ADCC Worlds, but won matches there and got through to the second day. I think he ultimately took 4th place last time he was there. I thought he'd be a shoo-in for the European team. And so he's not directly in the team. And then the trials are taking place at his home gym, and he's not in the trials. So I don't know what's going on there. If anyone can let me know, that'd be great. But we have no Owen O'Flanagan and no Taylor Pearman on the European team. I think this European team is more notable for the people who aren't there than who are, because we also don't have Mateusz Jasinski through injury. he was going to be the under 77 pick, but he's had surgery, I think, on an injured bicep tendon, so that's going to rule him out for a while. Surely the recovery from that usually takes, a good bit of time. So we have no Tommy Langacker at under 77 or under 88. He's also injured. Tarek Hopstock couldn't do these trials at under 88 because he's injured. Mark McQueen couldn't do the trials because I gather he's got scheduling issues with like what he's going to be doing later in the year, and maybe a visa situation to sort out as well. So I think there's a lot of guys who I would have slotted in to definitely be on the team not going to be in it. So we'll get more into the European team in a minute, but like what do you think about the guys who are missing? Like, how big a blow is that to the European team? Two guys we know that are definitely in are Owen Jones at under 66 and Charles Negremont at under 99. So that left 3 slots. I've talked about under 88, and now that's now Paul Ardilla with a wild card. Bit of a strange pick if you ask me, but Faris is picking the team, so maybe he'll come out and state why he went that way by bringing Paul into these trials. Under 77 is going to be Pavel Jaworski. I think, like, there's the other thing about these trials. I don't know that they really needed to happen, because I think, like, pretty much, other than, like, I did say in the preview, I thought under 88 was going to come down a close battle between Taylor and Paul. I thought under 77 was going to be Pavel. And then I thought over 99 was going to be Marcin, and that's the way it played out. So why not just like pick those guys anyway? I think like with the trials in Australasia, what worked well was, I think ultimately they could have just put Declan Moody in at under 99 because he was the vast favourite to take that title. He did, and he got on the team. So I don't know if he had to like necessarily fight his way onto the team, but Lachlan decided to go that way. I think over 99 was the big question mark in that region, well, with Josh Saunders not taking part. And then the trials allowed someone like Bilal Etribadi to come through and earn his way onto the team. And actually, like, I think he's, with his submission threat, is like a great pick for Australasia. I think he could definitely cause a surprise with his submission game, leg attacks. So that's where the trials really are useful, when you have like a bit of a space, you don't really know who could come through and fill it, and then you're looking for someone to come and take that. But I think at under 77, to me, once Mateus was not able to be on the team, one Polish leg lock assassin, why not just put Pavel straight in, another Polish leg lock assassin? Like, maybe not quite as credentialed as Mateus yet, but has certainly shown signs of like being able to head towards that level of grappler, right? I thought under 88 was going to be Taylor Pearman or Owen O'Flanagan. As it transpired, we don't have Owen, and then Taylor had to go into our trials, and then like, not on the team. So, and then at over 99, I thought, once it was noted that Mark couldn't be there, I thought the final was going to be Marcin against Heikki Jessala, and that's the way it played out. And I think it's better for the European team that Marcin made it through, just because he's more of a submission threat than Heikki. Heikki, very good grappler, very good wrestling, good top pressure, like consistently does well at European trials for ADCC, and but for this event, you're looking for people that can win by sub and take someone else out. So I think Marcin is more capable of doing that. So, I'd have put him in. The only question mark around him is like, would he be better at over or under 99? I think if like potentially he could be just a little bit undersized for over 99. That might sound weird because he submitted Heikki Jessala, and that's another note. And one of the few submissions that took place on the day, most of the matches were won by decision, but Marcin submitted Heikki with a leg lock in the final of the over 99 division. But so he's showing that he can handle himself against like guys who are absolutely at the over 99 weight. So anyway, Marcin's taking that slot. and I think has like, good credentials to be on the team. So like, what do you think of the team itself? We have Owen Jones at under 66, Pavel Javorsky at under 77, Paul Ardilla at under 88, Charles Negromonch at under 99, and Marcin Makovic at over 99. I think Europe are going to find it tough going to get through the first round, where they could take on an Atos, a New Wave, or a B team. So my early instinct is to say that, like, they're going to be one of the lower seeds in the event. I don't know quite how Craig's going to bracket the competition. And I would think as well, like, based on the Australasia team of, let's test my memory, Fabricio Andre is a wild card at under 66. And then we have Levi Jones Levy under 77, Lucas Kennard under 88, Declan Moody under 99, and Bilal Echebari over 99. I think of the Misfits teams, Australasia has the edge. Not even the edge, like, I think it's a better team than Team Europe right now. And then the other Misfits team is going to be coached by Greg Souders. It's going to be the Americas, and the only guy we know on it so far is DeAndre Corby under 66. So there's been no word yet on how Greg's going to fill out that team, whether there'll be trials or whether he'll just handpick. But I think from what I've seen over the first two trials events, if I was a coach, I would want control over who's going to get in my team. So I would be inclined just to pick. And then if there was like a big gap and I couldn't work out what to do with one division, I might invite guys to compete for it. And then I would choose a grappler based on that. But I think, like, putting it all down at trials is a bit foolish. Like, a guy could have a bad day, even if he's had a great year, and vice versa. A guy could have a really, really good day, but then, like, that's not like the average level that he competes at. So there's just too many variables for me to actually run the trials. And then I think, like, if you are to do trials, get a big mat space, maybe not have guys like spraying liquid around, try and keep the action on the mats, and reduce, like, I don't think any athletes got injured, but just like it was to me way riskier than it needed to be. But you let me know what you think. Was it too wild, or was it like absolutely the kind of fun that CJI 2 should be? I think maybe ultimately, Craig's reputation as being a man of kind of chaos and fun, maybe the guys running the event were playing up to that too much to try and impress / win over Craig. I don't know. I don't know what Craig's thought of it all. Maybe he'll let us know. But yeah, for me, just a little bit too much towards amateurism rather than professionalism. But maybe you think that's harsh. You let me know in the comments. Right. That's the CJI 2 European Trials wrap up. Done. And we'll be back as soon as there's any more info regarding CJI 2. I'll be quick off the mark as usual. And hopefully there'll be some other previews of some big events in grappling coming up real soon on the Jiu Jitsu Oracle.